Scroll through social media and you will find hundreds of claims that eating certain foods can act as a natural hormone replacement, specifically promising to increase breast size or alter your physical appearance. Talk to a consulting OBGYN, however, and the conversation shifts immediately. They recommend these exact same foods for entirely different reasons, primarily to protect cardiovascular health and to maintain skeletal strength as you age. We have a stark divide between the marketing promises of internet life hacks and the established medical practices of longevity. To bridge that gap, we need to talk about phytoestrogens. Simply put, these are naturally occurring, plant-based compounds that structurally resemble the estrogen your body produces. If you overhaul your diet solely to chase aesthetic physical changes, you are going to be disappointed. Worse, you might entirely ignore the far more vital internal biological mechanisms that these plant-based foods actually support. This spectrum chart maps out exactly why so many people get frustrated and fail when adopting a phytoestrogen-rich diet. It comes down to a total mismatch in expectations. On the left side, we have the hype. This is the territory of online biohackers promising rapid, targeted cosmetic changes from eating a bowl of beans. On the far right, we have the medical reality. This is the proven, subtle, but absolutely vital work of maintaining your bone density and heart health as your natural estrogen levels inevitably decline. Before you completely rewrite your grocery list, you have to understand where a specific food actually sits on this spectrum. Otherwise, you risk abandoning a genuinely healthy diet because it didn't do something it was never biologically designed to do. True hormonal optimization takes years. It is a long-term foundational investment in your internal health, not an overnight cosmetic fix. Let's start with the most concentrated category of phytoestrogens available to you: dense legumes and soy products. We are talking about highly accessible whole foods. Think chickpeas, rajma or kidney beans, soybeans, tofu, and soy milk. The required dietary input here is significant. Eating a single handful of beans once a week won't move the needle. To see an effect, you have to integrate dense servings of these foods into your daily meal prep. This ROI scorecard shows the biological outcome. Concentrated phytoestrogens provide high-scoring protection for your bones and heart. The trade-off? Hitting daily requirements takes culinary planning and digestive adaptation to heavy fiber, and absolutely no amount of soy will ever trigger adult breast growth. Soy and legumes offer the highest concentration of phytoestrogens you can get from whole foods. They serve as reliable dietary support for your internal systems, regardless of their lack of cosmetic impact. Now let's shift to a second tier of estrogen-rich foods, one that is heavily favored by people looking for easy snacks: nuts, seeds, and dried fruits. This category includes specific items like flax seeds, sesame seeds, walnuts, almonds, dried apricots, and figs. They offer excellent secondary benefits. They act as supplemental hormonal support while packing your diet with crucial omega fatty acids and necessary dietary fiber. But there is a major trade-off here that catches a lot of people off guard, and that is extreme caloric density. This balance scale illustrates the math problem. To eat enough of these nuts and seeds to significantly impact your hormones, you must consume massive amounts of calories. Relying solely on this category without strict tracking carries a high risk of rapid, unwanted weight gain. Nuts and seeds are fantastic supporting players in a broader diet. However, they are incredibly inefficient and risky if you try to use them as a standalone primary hormone replacement strategy. Finally, we have the lowest impact category in the estrogen ecosystem: complex carbohydrates and herbal teas. This includes ancient grains like ragi and millets, multigrain breads, and select herbal infusions. The effort required here is minimal. You are simply making passive lifestyle swaps, like trading refined white flours for ancient whole grains. This bar chart compares phytoestrogen density. Complex carbs contain only trace, nearly negligible amounts of phytoestrogens compared to the massive payload found in soy. Their true value isn't shifting hormones directly. They provide gradual systemic wellness and steady blood sugar, acting as a metabolic buffer. You shouldn't rely on a multigrain sandwich to fix a severe hormonal deficit. You eat these foods to maintain a solid overall baseline for your metabolic health. When we step back and evaluate the requirement of adopting a plant-based estrogen diet as a whole, the picture becomes very clear. The ultimate biological outcome is resilience. You are building a defense for your skeletal and cardiovascular systems, preparing them to weather aging and menopause. To succeed with this diet, you have to accept a harsh mandatory trade-off. You must entirely abandon the expectation of rapid, localized cosmetic changes. The immense frustration many women feel with so-called hormone balancing diets comes entirely from mismatched expectations. The foods aren't failing, the marketing is simply lying. To decide your next steps, we need to clarify your true intent. On this matrix, the Longevity Optimizer proactively manages long-term health. For her, a phytoestrogen-rich diet is a highly recommended low-risk strategy. Conversely, the Aesthetic Biohacker seeks natural alternatives to cosmetic procedures. For targeted physical enhancement, this diet leads only to wasted time and disappointment. Focusing on proven medical realities ensures your dietary efforts actually translate into long-term health. Using these foods for their intended biological purpose builds a body that stays strong as you age.